Esa fue la tentación. Tú puedes ser como Dios. La desobediencia. Come el fruto del prohibido.
We're trying to tamper with everything of creation as though we are the lords of creation. We are not. So God began to restore through Sinai. He says He did not give up on us. So,
pero Dios no se da por vencido, y a través de la alianza en el Sinaí, Él trata de rescatarnos.
What is the main call when God made the covenant with Israel at the Exodus? Deuteronomy 6, chapter 4, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, with your whole mind, with your whole soul. He brings us back to what He wanted man and woman to be. Living in His love, acting with His love, enhancing one another with His love, enhancing creation with His love. So, mind, heart, soul, which means your whole being is made to love God. That comes first. You tell someone in the street out there, you know why you are, what's the meaning of life? Oh, I want to be an engineer, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to make money, I want to have a good life. That's not the goal of life. They'll never be happy. Loving God. And as you love God, you love yourself in God, and you love your neighbor. That's the call to holiness. That's what Pope Francis told us, and I'm sure Dan and Shelley told you. We are all called to holiness. We are all saints. I should have begun my session by saying, dear saints of God. Right? You would have said, what? Yeah. But we are saints, called to holiness. Now at the Exodus, chapter 19, in verse 6, God says to His people, at this time they had no priests, by the way, no Levites. He says to them, you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood. Royal priesthood. Royal, why? God is king, you are God's children, His image and likeness. Priesthood. So here we get what priesthood means. If I had to say to you priesthood, you think of me and the other fathers here. Oh, these are the ones that say Mass in the church, or the ones who hear our confession. That is one type of priesthood, not the whole priesthood. Priesthood is something much bigger than that. Priesthood for them, for Israel, was loving God with your whole heart and soul, living as His children, and secondly, to carry His name to the ends of the earth. That was their priesthood. You find that in the Old Testament. To take God's name to the ends of the earth in love. Later on, the Levites were erected as a group in Israel to offer sacrifice and to teach Israel the law of God. That's a separate kind of priesthood, but from the first covenant, all are priests. So what to use our terminology, the laity of Israel were priests. How? Empowered by God to carry His love to the nations. Now you notice that this is the basis of your marriage vows that you take at the altar. don't you? I take you for my lawful wife or husband, for rich, for poorer, for better, for worse, and so on, until death do us part. What is that? You're offering your whole self to one another. And both of you are offering your whole self to God. You are imitating God. I will love you utterly, fully, completely to be my spouse. And the spouse does the same to you. You are imitating God. That's what God did. He gave His whole self to us. Image and likeness. And He demands from us the same. Love the Lord your God. So love is at the very heart of our life as human beings. Loving God, loving neighbor. And so this holiness is to be shared with each other, with your children, with the others, with creation. So this is your baptismal priesthood. You may have heard in catechism class. You are priest, prophet, and king. As a baptized person, priest, prophet, and king. This is the meaning of priesthood. You don't offer Holy Mass as the priest does. It's a different priesthood. A complementary priesthood. So each of you has a priesthood. Loving God, loving neighbor. And when Jesus says, "Come, follow me, I will make you fishers of men," that is the second part of priesthood. Carry my priesthood to others. Proclaim my love to others. Call to discipleship. Call to holiness. Call to relationship with God. And fishers of men, the call to evangelize, to share your holiness with others, to share your holiness, to disseminate it around the world. That is your priesthood, that is your discipleship. And you begin that first in the home. You are to disciple your children. And I can say this, my dear friends, some families have been very close to me. And I would keep guiding the parents from the time the children were young, how to give them their freedom that most children have, while at the same time teaching them to be close to God. And I've seen a time of rebellion comes as they are in their teenage years, but after that, they follow their parents. They're still a family that loves God and loves neighbor. But most families don't do that. Their main goal is, I have to make my son or daughter successful in life. That is what counts. Faith is forgotten. What I'm speaking to you, holiness is forgotten. And I meet parents later in life telling me, I don't know what to do. My children have left the church. They're no more God-fearing. They don't believe in God. That's the reason they've forgotten their calling. And you, as in any movement in the church, must bring this back. It's necessary. This is basic why you exist as a movement. So there are two priesthoods, the ordained and the baptismal. I'm going to speak about the second one, going forth. And I take you to Matthew's Gospel, chapter 28, verses 16 to 20. Jesus told the apostles to go up to the mountain after the resurrection. And he says to them on that mountain, when they came there. I'm the risen Lord. All authority in heaven and on earth is mine, has been given to me. So Jesus is once again in the power of the Trinity. He's at the Father's right hand. And as Hebrews tells us, chapter 1, verses 1 to 4, he holds the whole universe by one word of power. Go, therefore, make disciples of all nations. Why therefore? It's not trying to prove something. That thing I can see in the light twilight has got 4 legs, walking on 4 legs. Therefore, it is an animal. The one next to him, walking on 2 legs, therefore, it is a human person. It's not that therefore. I'm not proving anything. Go, therefore. Therefore means I am empowering you. I have power. I'm giving it to you. Go. That has been given to us in our baptismal priesthood. Go. You are empowered now by the risen Lord. At creation you were empowered by the image and likeness of God. Now you got further power. You're a sinner. God's empowerment of creation was stripped away by